The Mafia was once one of the most powerful organizations in America. They ruled with an iron fist running industry, trade, and many part of everyday life, from the cost of clothing to garbage pickup to gambling. That was a long time ago. Today, in 2023, the Mafia is still around. In fact, all 5 families still have a small foothold in New York. News of Mafia activity isn't often, but occasionally the feds bust a bookmaking and loan sharking ring, or a union overhaul that catches made men rigging bids. There is, though, over the last 6-10 months, a pretty interesting power struggle in the Bonanno crime family. A little backstory regarding the Bonannos. They are an interesting group. Obviously, if you've seen Donnie Brasco, you're familiar with Agent Joe P. Stone infiltrating the family. They also dealt with multiple power grabs just before that situation played itself out, which is seen in the family, although in real life, it didn't involve Donnie Brasco. Eventually, the family would be taken over by an extremely efficient boss in Joseph Big Joey Massino. He took the family into the 2000s, changing the rules and creating some calm in the family. Until that time, they were the only family in New York to not have an informant in their ranks and were regarded as the strongest family in the city. Subsequently, though, in 2003, Joe Massino and other high-ranking members would be arrested, and by 2005, Massino was facing the death penalty for 7 murders and racketeering charges. His counterparts around him started to flip, and the worst defection would be his brother-in-law, and underboss Salvatore, good-looking Sal Vitali, deciding to turn rat. Joe Massino's back was against the wall, and in 2004 was found guilty and given life. He still faced the death penalty on 1 murder and decided to do the unthinkable, becoming the first boss in the history of the American Mafia to become a rat. He would wear a wire inside prison, recording conversations. He and the new boss, Bronx-based Vincent Vinny Gorgeous Bassiano, a violent lunatic who became boss after Massino went away. The Bonanno family was decimated, and throughout the 2000s into the 2010s would take a major hit. They were still around, but extremely hamstrung. Bassiano ultimately got life, and in 2013, they made a man Michael the Nose Mancuso the alleged boss. Mancuso, a Bronx guy who once did a decade for manslaughter after his wife was found dead, had been around for a while as part of the faction in that borough. He came up under Bassiano and was one of his most trusted confidants. He, during that time, was serving a 15-year sentence for a gangland murder in 2004. In 2013, there were 2 logical choices for boss Mancuso and a man Joseph Camerano Jr., and Camerano was a no-nonsense leader from Brooklyn who was well-liked and the more efficient choice. The family instead went with the nose. As the story goes, back in 2017, the family was polled on whether a new boss should be instituted, and Joe C. was leading the way for change. Camerano felt it was the right time to try and grab a hold of power, as he was very respected in Brooklyn and Queens. Mancuso found out and ordered Camerano and several of his people, including his father-in-law, longtime Bonanno, old-timer Vito Grimaldi, to be shelved. Means essentially stripping a made man of his rights and responsibilities, in that he is no longer to be recognized and given the respect of an inducted member. It can be temporary or forever, and from people that I know have told me, it basically means a member is dead. In March 2019, Mancuso got released and returned to the Bronx and appeared to continue leading the fractured family. The shelved members, including Camerano, were quiet. In July 2020, the old-timer Grimaldi died of natural causes, and a funeral was subsequently held. Now, for being shelved, Joe C. was told to stay away. Naturally, Joe C. went as a good son-in-law, and Mancuso allegedly ordered multiple members to deliver a beating to Camerano during the funeral. The only problem was that several of the attendees were a part of a motorcycle club and stuck up for Joe C. They supposedly got the best of the Bonanno guys. It was a disgraceful move by Mancuso, and many in the life, from what I heard, were sickened. Oh, how far the Mafia has fallen. Fast forward to recently, and according to my friend Scott Bernstein over at the Gangster Report, He recently detailed that there's been continued reprisals from Mancuso regarding the dust-up at the funeral. He has allegedly ordered multiple get-backs at Joe C., including drive-by shootings, but the crew of Joe C. isn't backing down. Anyone with insular knowledge of the mob today knows how hamstrung they are. They can barely earn, and there's an edict of no violence. Mancuso is towing a dangerous line by breaking that, and if the feds want to bust someone, it's him. The other families, I'd have to imagine, aren't very happy with Nose's behavior and want a resolution to this. This will likely cause major blowback to a group that wants to remain in the shadows. There has been recent word that Mancuso is attempting to extort members of the shelved group, including the son of Vito Grimaldi. Joe, who is a made guy. Mancuso wants a large amount of money, and he will in turn reinstate Joe Grimaldi and will stop the violence. What happens next? No one knows. The key in all this will be Joe Grimaldi, who has a familial connection to Joe C., but also many are rightfully fearful of Mancuso. He is a power-hungry psycho who seems to be all about reprisal. The problem is, the current state of how the Mafia can react is really hurting him. He's unable to dole out what he believes is a right punishment. The truth is, what it does show is how low the Mafia is on the criminal totem pole, if you will. No one respects them, and they are behaving in a way Carlo Gambino and Tony Salerno would roll over in their graves if they saw it. The Mafia was a secret society, aided by respect and loyalty. Now, it's just a bunch of lunatics playing in a sea of nonsense fighting over scraps, as the world turns in the Mafia.
Got guys with me, I'll eat your f***ing eyes out of your head.
Wanted to tell
I
you,
give it as loyal as a mother.
Frank Catania this weekend.
I think I'll balls the size of cows.